First of all, thank you all for being here. I know this is probably the last thing anybody here wants to do. All the time and energy that you guys have expelled, taking a week out of your life, sitting on a case like this. It's a lot of stress, and I'm sure your family and your work lives have suffered for it, so thank you very much. It's important. As citizens, it's important for Anita, and it's important for Nicole. Now, we just sat through over an hour of slides, trying to go through every piece of this case, every piece of testimony, every witness. And I'll tell you, usually when you're a defense attorney, your job is to try to snake through a hole. You got to make things just work right. This case is totally flipped. They just took you through an hour of slides.
Pause here. This is a huge legal point. In criminal law, the prosecution doesn't just need a story that sounds right. Every single element has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Miss even one, and the whole case collapses. So ask yourself, after everything you've heard so far, does this feel airtight or already shaky?
Where they had to go through about 300 elements that have to work perfectly for them. All of them have to be true for their case to work. Devin Hall got on the train at the time some guy in Wolf Point said he got on the train. They don't have evidence for that. She's saying that. The investigation showed. The investigation didn't show that. Otherwise, the FBI wouldn't have said Devin Hall was the most likely suspect. But I'll get back to Devin Hall. They talked to you about Marty and Ella. Never left Laura Knapp's side.
Let that sink in. The lead investigator didn't review the full case file before charges were brought. That's not a technicality. That's foundational. Imagine being accused of murder and learning later the person who charged you didn't read all the evidence. Should that ever happen in a system built on justice?
But she's screwing around on them. They never leave each other's sides. That's not true, and that didn't happen. But it has to be true for their case to work. Their case doesn't work. Their own lead investigator, Detective Asham, told you guys she didn't review the whole file. That's not bad police work. That's insane to bring charges when you haven't reviewed a file. They're trying to say this is a puzzle with many pieces. No, it's a murder case. And everybody in here deserves justice. Anita and Nicole, and this isn't how you get it. And I don't mean to yell at you guys. I'm not yelling at you. I'm blown away by what I'm seeing here. I've been practicing law for quite a while. I've never seen anything like this. So we got a case agent. A case agent who didn't review the file. You heard from our expert. I'm going to call him Agent Coons, not our expert. We had to bring in our own expert. I've never done that before because I've never seen an investigation like this. We had to have the entire case reinvestigated at Nicole's expense.
This is where the emotional temperature spikes. A known burglar, knives, multiple break-ins, and yet somehow not the focus. When juries are told to follow the evidence, this is exactly the moment they're supposed to stop and ask, who wasn't fully investigated and why?
To figure out what happened here. Because they don't know. All of their conclusions that they're bringing to you are just the conclusions that they needed to put her in that chair right now. Devin wasn't there. Devin told you, we read the report. I've been breaking into houses since I was here. Oh, it just perfectly lined up that he wasn't on the train. He was breaking in somewhere else at that point. This is crazy. I had Detective Asham on the stand. I said, you're aware he broke into that apartment? She goes, well, he actually broke into 2 that day.
This is the kind of detail that crime shows usually build entire episode around. Male DNA at the scene. Not Nicole's. Not on the weapon. Not on the victim. In 2025, with everything we know about forensic science, how do you explain that away?
Unreal. A detective who didn't read the case file. I've never seen anything like that. It's insane. We discussed in jury selection and at opening that they're going to tell you that this is a murder case based on an alarm clock and nasty text messages between two 18-year-old girls. I can walk around this town and find all of those people. 90% of the girls in this town are going to have those same issues that go to UND here. This sophisticated murderer sitting right here, Nicole, was able to scrub the DNA out of that place. They showed you the murder weapon. I'm not even going to dig around. You've seen it 20 times. Her DNA is not on it. In fact, the only DNA they have is from a man. Nicole's not a man. This is 2025. This isn't Perry Mason in 1950. They're trying to use conjecture and hearsay to convince you guys that Nicole got out of bed in the middle of the night, drove to Minot, killed her roommate, scrubbed the scene of DNA. She's this mastermind mob hit killer. Goes back home, has the intestinal fortitude to just go on with life like it never happened.
Here's the uncomfortable question. When cameras enter a courtroom, does justice stay objective, or does the story start getting shaped for ratings? Because once public attention becomes currency, someone always pays a price. And the defense is clearly arguing they know exactly who that is.
We're talking about a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a mother. This doesn't happen. This is a load of crap. Now, I talked to you at jury selection. I talked to you on opening arguments. This TV show came to town. What a coincidence. The TV show comes to town, and we're getting charges. They came to town for 7 days. They're telling you in their closing that the Minot Police Department's so busy, they can't get things right. And there's a whole heck of a lot more we heard about the Minot Police Department that I'm not going to get into because we don't need to relive some of the accusations and the things that have gone on with the Minot Police Department. But they bring in a television show for a week, and they're going to blow this case wide open. You heard from Agent Coons, the show came in, it had an agenda. The agenda was to put Nicole in that chair right there. Because that's what gets people watching these things. And that's what they care about. They don't care who did this. They care who's watching that TV. You see all these cameras in here. And when this is over, you'll find out a lot more about what's going on here. This is a media circus. And it's a media circus because they can put her in that chair, and these people helped them do it. And it's garbage. And they should be ashamed of themselves, all three of them.
Objection.
Sustained.
I'll back off.
Thank you.
The show comes in, the charges come out. The week-long investigation commences with two people from Hollywood. We're trying to clear your brother Marty. How can we figure that out? We don't consider Devin Hall a suspect. Why? They don't even have the train records. The guy's breaking into houses all over Minot with knives, women's apartments, saying, I've been doing this since I was here. Not a suspect. Because these cameras wouldn't be in here if he was. If the dead guy was the suspect, these cameras wouldn't be in here. These cameras are in here because we can have a nice North Dakota mom sitting there. That sells. And it's disgusting. And it's not our system of justice. It's greed. And that greed's putting pressure on these people. Now, we sat up here for 6 days. And person after person, officer after officer, we heard inconsistent statements. Oh, I don't remember. It was so long ago. I don't remember. Can you show me the report that I never looked at, that I never read before we brought charges? Sure. I spent half my week up here. Yep, here it is. Here it is. This is what happened. You should have reviewed it before you put her sitting in that chair. But when that happens, oh, it's been a long time. It's an inconsistent statement. When Nicole, who comes in for every interview, talks to law enforcement every time they ask her, when she makes a mistake, when she can't remember something just right, she's guilty. We're putting her in that chair. And here come the cameras. She's the only one who's not allowed to have 10 minutes wrong or get interviewed 18 years after something happens and have one element wrong. She came in every time, no lawyer. Not all the other suspects you can say that about. 18 years. She was 18 years old when this happened. That was 18 years ago. They've been interviewing her over and over and over again. Of course they're going to get interviewed for 18 years. But when other people, for their case, for what they need to put her there, when those other people make inconsistent statements, it's forgiven. When the cops make inconsistent statements, when the cops tell you they didn't review the case, it's forgiven. It's madness. I have never sat through a case where I've had to sit here with 7,000 pages. You probably noticed how slow I was going. I'm going through 7,000 pages in my head to make sure they understand what happened because they didn't do the work. The investigation happened in here. The investigation happened with Agent Coons. They didn't review the file. They said that. That's insane. To put somebody sitting in a chair for murder without reviewing the file. On top of not reviewing the file, I'm going to take myself back up here. Detective Asham, did you have trouble gathering the evidence? No, we got all the evidence. Well, I thought you said you had trouble gathering it. I show her a report where Devin Hall says that he came to Minot on the 2nd. On the bottom of the report, it says, this has been recorded and will be put into evidence. Do you have that? No, we don't. You don't have that. That's bad police work at best. You know what it is at worst. The state brought in a bunch of witnesses. It was a cast of characters. The TV show comes out, the phone starts ringing. You have two people who all of a sudden have an admission, an alleged admission. I did it. Everybody's blackout drunk at a party. I did it. One guy's got drug problems. We're more than grateful for his service in the military, no doubt. He's admitted he was in St. Cloud for rehab. They get in touch with each other prior to talking to police after the show comes out. And they say, yeah, we reported this multiple times back in 2008. This is one of the biggest murder cases in North Dakota history. And the cops just ignored that? No, they didn't call in. This is another load of crap. Donna Bieland can't remember when she worked with Nicole. She can't remember where the office is. She says Nicole's parents forced her to clean up the murder scene and then made her sleep in a shed. I was laughing during the testimony. This is crazy. She's sitting up here with Coke bottle sunglasses on and a banker's hat. Like they went off and found her on the street. And they want to put her in prison with that crap? Are you kidding me? They sit here talking about holdbacks. Aunt Brenda, she proved the holdbacks about that trip. Aunt Brenda said the trip was in 2007, 4 to 5 weeks after Anita died. She was totally wrong. She was a year off. Those holdbacks had most likely been given to the press at that point. Michelle Grubb, when she testified, if you can keep all this straight, had said she knew Nicole was stabbed. This stuff comes out in these towns. They're basing all of these holdbacks on this testimony of Aunt Brenda, good old Aunt Brenda. She's not sitting in here right now, I'll tell you that. Aunt Brenda had it a year off, and she was so sure of it. We were going to my son's rodeo in Farmington. We took my husband's plane. You're a year off, Aunt Brenda, sorry. They're asking you to find this girl guilty on 20-year-old hearsay. It's baloney. Think about this for a second. She leaves her family house in the middle of the night, goes in, kills her roommate, who's got a lock on her door. Like Dexter cleans the scene. No DNA, scrubbed. Nicole lives in this apartment. There's no DNA. Her DNA's not on the knife. Her DNA's not on Anita. And then she texts her after, long after. The state expects you to believe that she did that and came home and went on with her life. You see her sitting here. That's not James Bond. This didn't happen. Then the state's got the gall.
This is your homework moment as a viewer. Unknown male DNA. A suspect the FBI pointed to, and testing that never happened. If the science exists and the evidence exists, why wouldn't you use it? Ask yourself, is this about solving a crime or closing a case?
To ask Agent Coons why we didn't do more work investigating this case. We did a heck of a lot of work. And we have no obligation. We have no obligation to hire investigators and to hire experts and everything else to do an investigation that they didn't do. They admittedly didn't do. They didn't review the files. It's Nicole's job. That's a terrifying thing if you're an American citizen. You got to hire your own police because they're not doing it. You heard from a few witnesses that were law enforcement from Minot back in the day. You heard from Agent Coons. The FBI fingered Devin Hall. He said that's who we're going to look into. Who's the one suspect that they didn't look into when they reopened the case, when cold justice showed up? Devin Hall. You know why? Because it would have been a problem for them. They wouldn't have been able to get Nicole in that seat. And these TVs wouldn't have been lit up and people wouldn't have been making millions of dollars. I can't harp on this enough. It's 2025, and we're taking a cold case with no new physical evidence, no genetic evidence, no DNA. When you guys go back, look at that DNA report. Look who wasn't tested. They got male DNA under a fingernail. Read through those names, see who wasn't tested. You're going to be surprised. In their opening, the state's attorney said, crime loves silence. Nicole went in every time the police asked her to come in for an interview. She wasn't hiding from this. There were people that were. What you're seeing here is a totally unprepared police department and state's attorney's office. You're seeing baseless charges, and they're going after an innocent woman because they're pressured. You have no idea what these TV cameras do to these people. And I'm not blasting police. Police are good people. But what you're seeing in this case is garbage. It's absolute garbage. It's insanity. You heard it from Agent Coons. I can't state it enough. They didn't read the file before they charged her. We read the file before they did. They keep telling you that their big issue is this hunch on Nicole because of her behavior. And then you heard, and you'll see it in the transcripts, top of the transcript, Nicole was crying at the scene when she got there. I can't make these police testify to what they said. I've shown them a lot, but that doesn't sound like what they were saying. She's crying. She's not acting stoic. She's crying. They asked her, they brought her into the apartment. Is anything missing? Yeah, my iPod is. Now all of a sudden they're latching onto that. Cops are asking you a question. What's missing? It looks like my iPod's missing. She should have just said nothing and lawyered up. Instead, she tried to help them out. That was a bad idea with these people. People like Nicole don't kill people over alarm clocks. We know that. toxic roommate. They're telling you, read the texts. Look at the alarm clock. The fish. We all went to college. I went to college. Everybody's been in plenty of disputes with their siblings and roommates. We talked about this at opening and during jury selection. People like Nicole don't kill people over that. I've told you that before. It's true. This is a case based on hearsay and speculation from 20 years ago. I don't think there's anybody in here that doesn't want justice for Anita. She deserves it. There's no doubt, but there isn't justice for Anita in here. Nicole didn't do this. And on jury selection, we talked about guilty go free or innocent go to prison. Nicole didn't do this. The killer's out there, and this needs to be solved. But it's not going to be solved in here today because the work wasn't done. The work had to be done by Nicole. She had to hire ex-FBI agents, a team of attorneys. She had to do that. That's not her job. That's not your jobs. That's the police's job. It's their job to look into the file, to read the file. Not to have I can't link anything more to the fact that Cold Justice came into town and they charged this case more than the fact that they said they didn't read the whole file. They didn't review the file. I'm showing them things they haven't seen before. I showed Detective Asham that train report. She was shocked. Wolf Point to Minot. End of May through June 10th. No Devin Hall on there. Our case is shot. All of a sudden, he slipped a guy at 20. That's what I'm telling you. They just went through all these slides, hundreds of elements that have to work perfectly for them, for this case to work for them. It's crazy. If one of those falls out of place, this case doesn't work. Crime loves silence. Nicole participated all the way along. This is madness. State's Attorney Sorgan told you DNA is everywhere. DNA is in the air. If I touch this, my DNA is there. Not Nicole's. I don't know what, she's got special DNA, I guess. She lives in the apartment. They don't have her DNA. No DNA on the murder weapon. They're so sure of what went on with this scream. Their detectives never saw it. Their investigators never saw it. The only person in here that testified it was Gordon. He said it was out in the yard. Marty's dead. We can't talk to him. And then a couple days later, you got Devin Hall saying, I'm coming in and out of the windows, in and out, twice in one day, with a knife. This is terrifying that this case was brought. It's absolutely terrifying. And I used the term abortion of justice, and I know that's a heavy term. I don't like to use that. But that's what this is. This is madness. This never should have happened. We shouldn't be sitting here today. Nicole didn't do this. Nicole Rice, the sister, the daughter, the mother, and the wife, who's sitting here with her whole family right now. It's a ranch family from Velva, North Dakota. She didn't sneak out of her farmhouse in the middle of the night, get Devin Hall's Indian head knife, and stab someone in the chest. She didn't do that. And go back home like nothing ever happened. Just take a step back. Let's walk away from the slides. Let's walk away from 8,000 things that have to go right for us to be sitting here today. All these other people. This is madness. It's a horror movie. I don't think after any of this there's any option to come back with a not guilty verdict. Nicole didn't do this. Thank you guys so much for your time. I know this has been a lot. I know this is a lot out of your lives. This is incredibly stressful. We appreciate you. Nicole appreciates you. Thank you all.